G'day ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on this, my journey into the constraints-led approach for BJJ. I'm your host, Sam Battlefields, and today is Wednesday, so I did Aaron's class, or I was off to the sidelines of Aaron's class. Today we started out with boxing with gloves. I think something that I'll do moving forward is still do the gloves. I want to change the timing. I think, being that we use it for a warm-up, today we did 2.5 minutes. We did the same, I think, yesterday. So it was 2 minutes with a 30-second rest. But what I found with that is the intensity wasn't there. So when it's 1 minute, you know that you've got to really sort of be active, move around, in order to sort of do some experiment in that time. So, and you know, experiment with your partner. And I think the 2 minutes, it gives just too much sort of feeling out rather than experimentation, if that makes sense. Anyway, because it's a warm-up, I really want to use it as a warm-up, and I'll also be looking to add in further constraints, because I think at the moment we've kind of reverted back, maybe not to when we first started doing the palm on the chest and torso, but maybe like a month after, and so what it's, you know, getting those constraints on maybe just using the lead hand or something like that. So I'm looking forward to putting that into play. I really like the connection game that Aaron put into place today. So once you made a double connection, that was the only time you could go for a single leg. So the win condition was the single leg, but it was a continuous game. So I really dug this as a game. I can't really explain how much I really enjoyed it. I think part of it was because we have been making connection and they're not working from that, and it's something that I've wanted to work towards. So being able to make that double connection, get to some sort of like a Russian tie or something like that, and then being able to, once that's secured, grab the single leg. And I really liked Aaron's explanation as to why you had to make the connection before, and that was so that both of you don't go for a single leg automatically and donk heads. I thought that was a really good constraint. So the next game, we kind of flowed straight into the next game. I think that was actually the best thing for it, based on some of the stuff that I've been reading from the Discord, with how people have had a chat and chat with, you know, some of the guys that have been doing it for a very long time. They've started to look at doing less full game and more deep dives. Now, personally, I still want to do the full game thing because of a number of reasons. One, I haven't experienced or really sort of, there hasn't been much information come to me yet regarding, you know, doing a deep dive. The other reason being is because I genuinely feel that in just the last 6 months, doing that whole game sort of idea has improved all levels and provides the ability to, you know, interleave practice. What's the other words for it? It's you know, spaced repetition, active recall, forgetting curve, etc. So anyway, we discussed yesterday doing a game that Alex showed us last year sometime, and it was, you've got to get your, so it's start in half guard. You've got to get, both people have the same objective. Person on top is trying to get their chest as much on their hip as possible, and the person on the bottom is trying to get their chest on their hip as much as possible. I'm not sure where it went wrong, because, you know, we kind of, when I say went wrong, the behaviours emerged so differently to what was expected, because we played this game before, we've done the demos, we show, like this time we kind of did, but I think, I said afterwards that, you know, what we should demo is both the outcomes, right? But even then, I think that was kind of done already. There's something to be said with how the game was started, in that the person on the bottom already had their chest to the hip. But even then, and there was a reasoning for that, so it wasn't like, you know, they were given that advantage for any reason. It was because it actually played into the rest of the games that we were going to be playing, or that Aaron was putting forth. So what I think is being really specific, so being like, this is what we're looking for, my chest on the hip, being very, very specific around that, and then the person on the top, this is what we're looking for, my chest on the hip. But again, like, you know, that seems pretty straightforward, and what we had was, you know, some of the guys going for deep half, some of them going for, you know, trying to get out the back, some of them going to the near side elbow, like, controlling that, which sort of brought up that the thing of they were just trying to stop their opponent from achieving their goal instead of focused on achieving their own goal of putting the chest to the thing. So they were trying to stop their opponent from putting their chest without doing the things that would help them get their win condition, if that makes sense. And I have seen this quite a bit recently, where it's where there's this dogged desire to stop the other person from doing it, which limits the affordance path for that person, but it doesn't really help you, because you have got one, you've got one sort of block that you're doing. It's not like you're doing 15 different blocks. You're just stopping them from getting in that funnel, that last, I can visualize it. So visualizing it like a funnel of affordances, right? So up the top is when you're both kind of semi-disengaged in that you've got half guard, but person on the top's got no hands on them. They're sort of sitting upright. Person on the bottom is, they're leaning back and they've got their hands not touched. Just bear with us. So they've got their hands off. You've got their hands off. There's a multitude of affordances at that point. Obviously, it's still sort of situational sparring level in that, no one's got an upper hand at this point, but whatever move from there, so whoever moves, whatever the move is from there, makes that funnel of affordances smaller, right? Boom, boom, boom. And if you're on top and your only goal, you've got all the way to, or the person's got all the way to their head, almost there, but all you're doing is just trying to keep their elbow off the ground, then that's all you're doing. That's the only, that's sort of, there's no other opportunity, or there's less opportunities for action. So they might be trying to duck one way, duck another, but you're blocking that sort of very small amount of things. Whereas if you're trying to go the other side, there's a whole heap of other affordances that are made. So I look, right now I sound like I'm a fucking crazy person, and I'll explain some other stuff later. But stopping your opponent, I'll write this down. Stopping your opponent from achieving their goal versus going for your own goal to achieve it is a metaphor for life. Let's be honest. Like, if you're focused on shitting on someone else and you're not focused on your goal, what are you aiming for, right? So this is a mindset that I think I'm going to have to get up front. So with buy-in with these games is really try and focus on, hey, this is not only experiment, but we've designed these games so that you have an intention. All right, so the attention stuff that I spoke about yesterday, it's actually going to come back in when I have a chat about some of the stuff on the screen at the moment. But yeah, anyway, so Aaron then did a half guard start with hands over the foot, so both hands this time. As I mentioned yesterday, for some reason, one foot, like, it just didn't have, the people were just trying to create space while underneath rather than trying to become the base, which is what we're looking for. And it was awesome to see, and I actually, because I was watching from the sidelines, I didn't rate this game as much, as highly, but I'll explain. When I say rated, I thought it might have been too simplistic, and then I was proven wrong kind of almost instantly, which was great. But the game was to load them up so that their foot was basically against their butt, and then your hands over their butt in that really tight thing. But what Aaron was looking for is to get the person on top's hands planted on the deck above them. And I thought, it's too simple. Like, there is no other. And it turned out, no, it wasn't. It really did show the guys. And I heard Brad say, yeah, wow, there's a tipping point. And I was like, well, I just got fucking, I'm glad I didn't say anything, because I would have had a bit of egg on my face, And so that was awesome. And then we went into a second part of this game where, unfortunately, we didn't start at that thing. And Aaron gave, so we started with the foot against the butt, but only one hand over it and one hand with the underhook. And what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to start in that first game, and the goal was to put them on their back or to take their back. Which, no, that was a burp, not a. And I think what I would use as terminology would be, you have to get them on their hip either side, or take the back, or get your arm. Now, from what I understand, Aaron did use put your hand over the other side of their lat across their back. But what ended up happening was, because they had that kind of looseness that they had yesterday, straight away they were going for like an octopus guard thing. Because they were so loose, they created some more space and then got their arm up and around, and it didn't have the outcome. And I think, what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to have them start with their hands connected over the foot. We're going to do that first game where we get the tipping point, and then what I'm going to do is get them to put them either on either hip and go out the back. All right, that would be my thing. But it was interesting to watch Ridwan. Ridwan in a roll, like afterwards, he actually pulled off the tipping point and came out on top in a free roll, which was awesome. I can't really remember what the setting was, but after, when we were having a chat, and I think I'll call this this video, the answer is in what the other person does. So the answer is in what the other person does. So, this harkens back to that stopping your opponent from achieving their goal. Well, is it like, it's not really doing much for you. Anyway, I forget what the context was that we did that, but we're talking outside after class, and as Ridwan said, because I got out my book and I started writing it down, and Ridwan turned around and went, "Oh, that's a bar. It was pretty funny." You had to be there, though. Location joke. Anyway, just wanted to also, so there was a couple of things. I found a note in my drawer of something that I'd written clearly before CLA, and it's hilarious. So this is back control, point 1, trad versus modern, overside versus underside. 2, escape Aaron taught, dash, know when to fold them, open brackets, go to mount, / head arm, close brackets. 3, underside up down, and how to mitigate above. It took me a long while to decipher what I was trying to write there, weirdly, whereas I think that a lot of my notes that I'm making here I can decipher down the track. Now let's just have a look at this. So Bradley from yesterday's thing, Bradley said, "Thank you for answering my question. I completely agree. I recently moved to an ecological gym. Eco D." I prefer to call it ED. I know why people are saying Eco D, but I actually prefer using the constraints-led approach, because it's not they're not ecological dynamic tasks. They're constraints-led approach tasks. So anyway, but I, as someone has said, it has got away from us, and people are using ecological dynamics or ecological approach, etc., etc. Once you've done a few Eco D tasks and built context, the brain is primed to receive IP information. So this actually harkens back again to intention and attention. So once you have done a few eco tasks and built context, so once you have shown what the intention is, if you bring attention to something specifically to that task, and then they're able to then take it. So a good example was watching Ridwan today. Aaron was sort of saying, "Oh, you could drop them back this way," and he was like, "Yeah, I didn't feel that, and then in a roll he goes off and does it. So it was pretty cool. And then I wanted to just give a shout out to my man, Workers Crunch 6505. He just found this channel. Awesome. Thank you, bro. Thank you for coming along for the ride. I'm surprised ecological jiu-jitsu has not been more widely utilised. This is the meta of the future of submission grappling. Smart man right here. Thank you, Workers Crunch. And he has let me know that I am breaking ground, my friend. Cheers. So, yeah, I agree. Clearly, obviously. But thank you very much for coming along for the ride, bro. If you've got any questions, anything like that, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know. I'm keen to answer anything I can. Much love. Peace.